Rightio, welcome. It's Geographically Challenged episode number 77. It has been a little while. We've got a lot to talk about. Bleh has literally stepped off of his first class flight back from PGL Cluj-Napoca straight into the Bangalore studio, ready to go. He's looking fresh and ready. Pilski's been here for a couple of hours. He's been waiting. He's been keen. How you guys doing? You feeling good?
Yeah, I am. Shout out PGL and first class tickets. Fuck yeah. Best TO ever.
There you go. Shout out to PGL. Hire Blair at least, or hire all of us. That'd be nice. Speaking of which, there's a lot of TOs that we would like to hire us, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on when we get deeper into the episode. Mongolia, please. But before we get there, we do have to give a quick shout out again to SkinClub, who, as you would know if you've been tuning in for the last few months or last few weeks, I guess, are our sponsor currently, and we want to give a quick shout out to them because they are doing some good things for us and plenty of other people around in the CS space. They are actually sponsors on HLTV, and the likes of Vitality and the Mongolz as well are actually sponsored by SkinClub. So they're helping out a lot of the people around the scene. And also, I just want to mention, again, a lot of people just look at that and go, oh, they're like a gambling site or whatever, which, they are. You can open cases and do whatever you want to do over there. But they also have this community portal, which, has a lot of interesting articles and stuff like that. You might have seen some other influencers in the CS space writing articles, doing videos on there. So I recommend you go check that out. There is a link down in the description, and it would be much appreciated if you could go ahead and check that out if you're interested. It will help us, it will help SkinClub, and it might help you as well if you're interested in looking at some more CS content. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, guys, as there's a lot to talk about. We have been away for about a month. It's been about a month since the last episode, so we've got a fair bit to sort of touch on here. First things first, let's talk Mongolz. Everyone loves Mongolz. Everyone wants to talk about Mongolz. We actually haven't done an episode since Kato as well, so I think we should cover Kato. We should cover Cluj-Napoca as well. I thought we would do an episode after Kato, and after Kato, I was going to come in like, fuck yeah, man, they're fucking doing sick, They made top 4. Finally, they've broken that barrier, right? Because we talked about that barrier being the top 8 position. They could consistently get to top 8, but now they've finally got to top 4. Yes, the circumstances around that being that they played against Eternal Fire, which is another like land choker or playoffs choker type team, if you will. So one of them inevitably had to kind of break that, and that was the Mongolz in that game. They then went on, obviously, to play against Vitality. They got kind of crushed there, which is fairly standard for the Mongolz. They don't have a great track record against Vitality. It seems like they match up against them all the time in a lot of these tournaments. But good result for them. Still, top 4 at Kato. That's fucking awesome. Probably, I would say, their best result actually ever. Top 8 at a major versus top 4 at Kato. I think you probably go top 4 Kato there. But then they go to Cluj-Napoca and they only made 5th to 8th against an Astralis, which, to be fair, in that game, Astralis was kind of banging. But I kind of hoped for a little bit more from them at Cluj-Napoca. So maybe you can give us your 2 cents here, Bleh, because you were at that event. How did you sort of feel about all of that kind of playing out after that Kato result as well?
I think I'll just quickly touch on Kato. I think for me, you could make an argument that result by the Mongolz is very close to being one of, perhaps, I keep harping on this, right, about how we've had, the Koreans in 1.6, they've won a lot of S-tier tournaments, and until they get there, I can't really put Mongolz as the best team. But man, top 4 in Kato against Eternal Fire, where we sure Eternal Fire showed, but Mongolz didn't, right? I think that's fair. And then they did lose to Vitality, and as you pointed out, they've lost. And to be fair, everyone's losing to Vitality right now. Yeah. And they got smacked by Na'Vi as well for the matchup. So if you really look at it, they only beat Game Legion, Liquid, and Eternal Fire. And Liquid, again, a team that kind of trying to find their feet at the same time. So look, you can only beat the teams in front of you. Very, very commendable performance coming up from Mongolz. But just looking at the teams they beat, if they'd beaten a top 3 team, I'm talking about your G2, Spirit, Vitality, Na'Vi, right? These are the 4 teams where I would like them to beat before I can be like, yeah, they are absolutely S tier. It'd be great. That didn't happen. In Cluj-Napoca, look, the opposition was kind of a bit weak, and they made mincemeat of them, right? That being said, I will say this. It feels like they were a bit Asian CSC in the group stage, right? There's so many maps which went too close unnecessarily. I felt like the individuals, and this will actually compare well to their playoffs performance. What happens here is you see Senzu just doing Senzu things. You see everyone just doing crazy things, and just individual prowess saving them. But there's so many situations where 4v1s and stuff where earlier they would give way more respect to the opponent and play cleaner CS. They wouldn't do that, and there were many rounds which kind of slipped out of the hands, which shouldn't have happened, right? It's against Wildcard, for example. I mean, some of those rounds were kind of rough to watch. And then against Spain, again, a very close series where I thought Mongolz should have taken it cleaner. Then he head to the arena, and against Astralis, it's like, I won't lie, they played scared. They played like, they kind of turtle up. Astralis played a great game, don't get me wrong, but individually, the Mongols, it's the same thing we spoke about, right? They need a bit of a mental coach. They needed a mental coach back then to make it to the playoffs and to win that promotion game, or the final game of the group stage to make it to the playoffs. Now they've done it consistently, right? They've even won a couple of A-tier events with big prize pool. With one in Berlin comes to mind. They've made three S-tier arenas back to back: Shanghai, Kato, and now in Cluj. So they've reached that plateau they find themselves in every few months. And for them to get to the semis more consistently, for them to start getting wins over teams they should be beating, or they would have beat in the group stage, I really feel like, I know they say they have a performance coach or something, but I think they need to hire like maybe another one. I think they've hit a mental block right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, like, I kind of looked at this Cluj-Napoca event as that, like, it could have almost been that next step. We saw them take the next step at Kato, and then I was thinking, okay, Cluj-Napoca, this is obviously clearly an S-tier event. There's a huge prize pool. It's a big deal, but the teams are, by and large, I would say, beatable at Cluj-Napoca, even going into those playoffs. Like, who's the strongest looking team on paper?
We're favorites.
Yeah, exactly.
The favorites alongside FaZe. Yeah.
Right. Like, and it was like, this is like the perfect opportunity for them to go, okay, we can actually now win. Yes, they won Yala back last year and whatever, but like, people are a bit iffy about that one. But if they would have won Cluj-Napoca, it was like, oh, holy shit! Like, okay, Mongols are the real deal. They've beaten the FaZe, the Falcons, the Mals, the Pain, the Australia, whatever. Like, again, these are not like the biggest names in the world necessarily, but they are pretty big names, and yet it felt like they took one step, or maybe they took two steps forward, one step back here with that top four at Kato, and then they've taken a step back again, not quite capitalizing, I think, maybe on some of that momentum with this Cluj-Napoca result, particularly when you look at who they're playing in the playoffs, being Astralis, who, look, again, they're a decent enough team, but I don't think anyone necessarily had Astralis as anywhere near the favorite for that matchup in particular. And again, the rest of the teams in that playoff kind of look really quite beatable for the Mongols. So it just feels like a really, really missed opportunity to me, unfortunately, for the Mongols. And I don't know when something like that's going to roll around again. How is it going to be that they're going to get into a top 8 playoffs against teams of that caliber? Like, again, are they going to do that? What's things looking like for the future for the Mongols right now? They've got Pro League. Obviously, all the best teams are going to be there. Lisbon, you've got Spirit, Vitality, Na'Vi, G2, all attending there. Melbourne, Spirit, Vitality, Na'Vi attending there. Dallas, Spirit's not attending Dallas, but Vitality, Eternal Fire, G2, FaZe. Like, there's a lot of good teams in a lot of these upcoming events where they were kind of missing a little bit in Cluj-Napoca. And unfortunately, I think, like I said, Mongols have maybe missed a little bit of a trick there. So it feels unfortunate that they haven't managed to kind of kick that one over the line or put it through the goalposts, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like they're like a little bit shaky at times. The thing is, though, I feel like the scene's kind of shaky right now. Like there's teams like Pain or like Astralis coming out of nowhere, or even like Heroic and like FaZe being up and down. Like, I feel like it's such a weird period of parity outside of like the top couple of pretty solid teams that you can rely on to get the dubs, like Vitality and teams like that. But even like this new Falcons team, like Nico gets put into the team and they just have a fucking run. He starts stoving people. So you kind of want to see like Mongols be consistent and actually like consistently beat these teams that are up and down. But it doesn't feel, it feels like there's a lot of teams that can kind of beat teams that like they shouldn't necessarily be beating sometimes. Like I feel like that way. Like sometimes I watch this Heroic team, I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? And then they're playing like amazing on like one or two maps or something like that. Or I see fucking Pain, for example, who've been around for a while, but like you always think like they fucking push a team to OT, or they take a series over a team that's like performing pretty well in another tournament. So it just feels like the scene's in like a weird spot from like, I don't even know, like 4th or 5th all the way to fucking 15th.
Yeah.
But here's my and I agree with Pilski when it comes to like all the because the roster changes as well, right? You're talking about FaZe with Leash coming in. A lot of teams with IGLs being switched up. You're looking at Mouse, with their Miracle Run. Kind of fucking crazy. But all these crazy things, which makes sense. But for me, Mongol's a team who've been pretty much the same lineup for like a year and a half now, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much approximately. And I feel like they could be in a conversation of being a consistent top 5 team. I don't think a top 3 team, but a top 5 team because of the fact that they've had the same lineup together for a while. And for me, because my expectations are pretty high, I'm looking at, your vitalities and your spirits, right? These are teams who win. And Navi, obviously, these are teams who win no matter the vagaries of the performances of the other teams. And that is where I want to see the Mongolz at. But I'm looking at, for example, the Astralis game, right? You have Inferno, you have Mirage. Mirage, like one of your best maps, right? And they've only lost a Navi and Vitality on it. They get smacked by Astralis, who have actually struggled on this very map. Inferno, I think it was an 12-8 lead or something, completely choked the lead. Their second round conversions are pretty rough. That was one of the worst at the tournament as well. And these are mistakes where I didn't used to see this earlier. Like, this is something which they would used to take care of, at least in the ramp up to the Shanghai Major. And I feel like, I wouldn't say they've regressed, so to speak, but yes, it does seem like they've hit that ceiling. And I hope they break through it, because I've seen this happen many times. You're looking at the Mouse team, for how long they were called the group stage, the Mickey Mouse tournament merchants and all of that. I want them to avoid that, and I fear, and it's just me being paranoid or whatever, that if it takes a little too long, it's going to get into their heads, and a frustration seeps in, and then they're like, all right, maybe you need to change something up, right?
Yeah.
And then a line of changes happen. I don't want that to happen. I think this is the best 5-man unit out of Mongolia. I literally cannot think of any other player who can replace anyone on this team. And I feel like this needs to be ameliorated real fast, right?
Yeah.
So I guess Mara has to take the lead on this, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it in the notes here. Like, it's just a question, like group stage merchants question mark. So are Mongols in danger of becoming group stage merchants? That's kind of the territory that we're getting into, because they seem to like actually kind of dominate a lot of group stages. Like, how often do you see them kind of go like 3-0 through a group stage, or 3-1 through a group stage into the playoffs, like super easy, and then they just lose that first playoffs game? Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter who it's against. It's just like, okay, well, that was like, outside of that win against Eternal Fire, pretty much every single time they make playoffs pretty comfortably and then lose like straight away.
And that was Eternal Fire, who they themselves admitted they played miserably, right? So against a half decent playing team who's like a top 10 team, they've just struggled, man.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely something that, maybe it's just like influencer talk or caster talk or, analyst talk, whatever, where it's like, this is not actually a thing in their heads, or it doesn't actually matter. Like, it's just something that we're doing naturally by like discussing things and building up
it's
some
for
kind of
sure in
conversation.
their head, dude. Like, they're going into these yeah, dude, you're going into an arena, you're going into a tournament, and be like, especially after how long it's taken for them to break through into playoffs, like, you don't think these guys are thinking like, fuck, man, I want to make like the grand finals of this prestige event, and then like they're not able to do that. Like, we're getting on, like, they made semis, to be fair, but we're getting on like 2 or 3 times in a row. Like, you're already kind of getting to that point if you're a player, for sure.
I mean, just look at Senzu. Just look at the numbers. But we're not even making this up, right? Senzu was the worst rated player, I think, at the major in the playoffs against Mouse, right? Like, just disappeared. I think he's Kato, fair enough. His hand was, in a bit of a rough shape there. Fine. Here, he was dominating. I think he was a top 5 player in the group stage, dude. He was just smashing everybody, looking incredible. Come the playoffs game, bottom of the table again. Now, at this point, you can see a trend happening here, right? So it has absolutely affected their mentality, and they're playing in game.
Yeah, and I just wonder, like, as well, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but what is the thought process inside that team right now, where, like you say, they've been about a year and a half or however long it's been with this core. They've had unprecedented results, better than we've ever seen from an Asian team in the modern day. And then, you're kind of like, okay, is this enough? Is this enough? Or are they going to be the kind of team that's like, we need to look for more? In which case, if we're going to look for more, how long do we maintain this 5 versus, do we make a change? And I don't know that I necessarily want to see a change, like you say, Bleh, because there's every possibility that just kills whatever Magic 5 they've got here and just obliterates the Mongols. Yeah. Or, obviously, it could make it better, but, like, is that even a thing that they're thinking about right now? I hope not, because I would like to see them, obviously through till at least this major. There's no question about that. But even after this major, if things don't go well, look, I think this is probably the best you're going to get for the foreseeable future. So I'm just hoping that, that someone's not getting frustrated in the team. You know what I mean? And I could see an argument why someone, maybe Blitz or who knows, like somebody could be getting a little bit frustrated that like, oh, we've reached that peak and we're not able to push past it. Like we've been trying for like 6 months to make it past this peak. Maybe it's time for a change. And I hope that's not the mentality within the team, but
Yeah. The problem is as well, like some of these series that they're losing are like, if you look at the majority of the maps, they're like not even that close. Like some of them are OT losses, but like they're not taking maps in the playoff series that matters. It's not like they're getting 2-1, like they're getting 2-0'd quite a lot. They're losing like 13 single digits quite a lot. They'll have like one close map where maybe they're doing quite well initially and then kind of fall off. So yeah, it does kind of feel like a mental thing. I don't know, like I agree. I just don't think that there is like someone else that they can like get a replacement for. So I'm just not really sure where they can go to from here. Yeah. And I think like it's great. I know like a lot of people, and this is not like shots fired at Bleh or anything like that, but a lot of people throw around like the mental coach and performance and stuff like that. But it's like not really a straightforward thing. First of all, for teams to find someone that's actually going to be helpful in that way, but also especially for teams from minor regions, like some of the from a team from Mongolia, for example, like to find a performance coach that's actually going to be able to like get in with the players and like build trust with them and actually be effective for their Counter-Strike team when they have like such a like national identity and a culture. And I don't know if they're going to have anyone from Mongolia. You know, like a lot of the time, it's such a weird role to have, right? It's like, what direction do you go with it? Do you go someone who actually knows about CS, or do you go like, oh, bro, like I was on the Mongolian darts Olympic team and I know all about what it's like to play at the highest level, you know, and some of that, or like a sports psychologist or shit like that. And some of that shit could be like on the lightly fraudulent side, I would say. Like,
I say, dude, fuck it, man. Just slap on some heavy metal, you know, just go kick some ass. That's what I'd do, you know, just read some history books.
From the Who. Get one of the boys just get fucking amp them up.
Ask Who to make them a fucking metal song for them, you know.
Dude, imagine
that's
that.
it.
Oh my god. All right.
That would be fucking sick, dude.
That would be. Let's move on from the Mongols. So we've been talking about them for a while now. FlyQuest, I don't think we have to spend too much time talking about them, but obviously they played both Kato and Cluj as well. Pretty rough results, realistically speaking. I actually kind of thought when we first saw FlyQuest with Regali in there, when they played at the Blast Bounty and they won that opening game, I was like, oh, okay. That was against, was it MIBR, I think. And I rate MIBR. I think MIBR is a decent enough team. I was like, okay, you know, this could be like, you know, the new Leaf and #Ali was the problem, etc., etc. But it seems that maybe Ali was not the problem. And unfortunately, it's kind of still the same.
Yeah. I mean, I never... The thing is, I've always looked at this FlyQuest roster and been like, it just always feels like a conveyor belt of who is the next player that's like an issue. Is the thing. Like, it's not. This is not like a one person goes out and then you put someone else in, especially if they're not like an absolute superstar player, which is not like, even if it was a superstar player, are you really solving any issues like within the team, or are you just like band-aiding someone to like, you know, come and AWP for you and drop fucking 30 kills in a game? So I don't know. It's. I feel like this FlyQuest team is like not necessarily a straightforward fix, and there's a lot of players that are like sometimes amazing and sometimes super inconsistent. Like Dexter, one tournament will just be like, I'm going to drop 30 on this map and win us a series. And then there's a game where he's just like 5 and 20. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? You know? And I feel like that about almost every player in this team sometimes.
The thing is, I don't look to Dexter to drop 30 bomb, right? But the fact that him getting kills is so imperative to them winning some of these series is kind of crazy. It's kind of whack, if you ask me. And for me, I said this as well earlier in some of the earlier episodes we had, that Liaz and Vexite, just too inconsistent, the two of them, and you can't have both. And honestly, I feel Vexite, obviously, you know, he has been the one who has been slightly more consistent, so to speak. So thus far, at least with this new iteration, Liaz has been a little up and down. Sure, he has his few moments. Sure, he has experience, but I agree 100%. And for me, the most worrying thing are the results, right? Sure, Spirit, 13-1, 13-3, that's okay. It's fucking Spirit. Get donked on. It happens to everybody. It happens to the best out there. But the loss of 3Max, man, look, I know 3Max have been playing great CS so far recently. I really like what they do, you know, great prep work and everything. But the fashion in which they got dismantled, that was worrying. Against Astralis as well, you know, they win the first map, then they get smashed in the second map. Falcons, they get smacked. And this is the Falcons who are, you know, we're looking rough, by the way. The early stage of the group stage in Cluj, Falcons were not looking that great. and then you get just you 13-1 big on Inferno. Fair enough, your best map, and then you get absolutely fucking shit on by Big, bro. Big's not a good team.
There's way too many of this series as well. Like, I feel like this happens to FlyQuest more than it happens to any other team. Like, they would just absolutely fist a team on the first map and then like lose.
I swear to God, this happens. So I actually agree with you. And then Saw, where sure I want to say, you know, dead team walking, but they did beat a few and make it to the playoffs, right? So I want to take that away from Saw. But still, I'm looking at FlyQuest and I want to use a deneuralizer, whatever they use it in Men in Black, and just forget what I saw from them this year so far. Because in a major, until they got knocked out, they look great. That was some of the best CS I've seen the Aussies play in a very, very long time. And I'm like, guys, they're just going to swap out the Opera. And sure, there are going to be some teething issues, but it can't be. You can't be this bad compared to how good you were. So
you have to admit, it is impressive to see one team edge an entire nation so consistently. Like, it is impressive.
Yep,
I agree.
Yep. I mean, one thing that we haven't really talked about, I think Ins so far in 2025 has had a pretty rough year, which is like probably the first time we've really ever said that about him. Yeah, he's always been like the guy. He's always been him for FlyQuest. And I guess if he, you know, like everybody, I don't want to like go too hard on it because it's only been 2 months or so, but like every player, I think at every point in their career, at some point is going to have a bit of a down period. There's no dancing around that. It happens in sport as well. So if this is going to be, let's say 6 months of Ins having a struggle time, then what for FlyQuest? Because he has been consistently that guy that has bailed them out of trouble in a lot of instances. I have, as you sort of mentioned there, Bleh, I think seen a bit of an uptick personally from Vexart. I liked what I've seen from him over the last couple of months. But realistically speaking, if Ins drops off from his insane level, like he's normally literally the only player in that team that is worth his salt internationally and sometimes. If he's now not going to be that for a period of time, I think that's a massive, massive loss for FlyQuest. So I don't know if that's going to be something that will persist, or maybe it's just a couple of events. He just had a rough couple of events. Don't want to read into it too much, but it's definitely something to kind of, I think, keep an eye on going forward.
I have a like just a hypothetical, right? Assuming, I mean, I've seen enough from Ins over the years where I just believe he's going to step up at some point, right? He's going to start to wake up. Obviously, I don't think he's someone who should he should be the last guy on the chopping board, like the last guy.
I agree.
Even after Dexter, in all honesty. I know we're going to talk about this later on, but with what's happening in Talon right now, right? I don't know, man. Maybe pick up one of the players there for Elias, perhaps.
I mean, the obvious one that's just been sitting there for ages is dannyg, but
yeah, like that's what I'm looking at.
I mean, for sure. I just don't know that necessarily solves anything. I'm not sure.
He might kill more people.
Yeah, he would kill more people. That's true.
And I think that's what they need right now, honestly.
You think but like that's going back to the same thing where it's like we put Regali in the team to kill more people. And
he is killing more people.
Yeah, he's killing slightly more people, but we're still losing. So we're just going to keep killing more people. Like, I think maybe it's more complicated.
If everyone starts killing more people, eventually they start winning, right? Pilski,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. I see.
Isn't that Counter-Strike?
Yeah, true. Just shoot people in the head. I don't know. I think it's like it's another like complicated one where like there's something like weird energy-wise or like psychological going on in the team, right? Where it's like, how the fuck are you absolutely fisting in one map and then like completely falling off in the series? Like there's some weird shit going on. It's like they have a good read and good prep and a good approach for like one map and then terrible the next map. There's just like no consistency. So there's clearly something there, like in very small amounts, and they need to like figure out how to like produce that more often. And then I do also agree, like I think that you do need to probably put some different players in the team. I'm just not really sure exactly who should go roles wise, Yep.
I think it's very hard to say. I think it is, but we'll see how things go.
Like the thing is, I feel like dannyg and Vexai are almost like similar players to me. I don't know if you'd agree, Jordan, where it's like they would almost,
they want to be on the front foot.
But like I've also seen dannyg play anchor positions where he's like playing pit or something like that on Inferno. So you could put him somewhere like that, and like maybe for Liaz, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I think, look, at the end of the day, we're probably not going to see any change in FlyQuest for the remainder of this major cycle. So this is probably a moot conversation for the next few months anyway. So yeah, we'll keep up with it and see how things go. But let's move on. Again, lots to talk about today. So this was the Blast Rising qualifier, which was run by 5e. So there's this part of the qualifier, and then there's the next part of the qualifier. Let's talk about the first part of the qualifier, which is technically, what was this called? This was called like the closed qualifier. So this is basically like, what you have to understand about this is there was lots of qualifiers. There was a qualifier for the qualifier for the qualifier, and then you get to Blast Spring.
It's not a meme.
It's not a meme. That is literally what happened. There's like domestic qualifiers for this, which was the closed qualifier, and then this is the qualifier for the Blast Spring Asia, whatever the fuck it was, which is actually a qualifier for Blast Asia Spring, or Blast Spring, whatever. Fucking, I'm confused. I hope you are too, because this was confusing. But the most confusing thing about it, or maybe not, I don't know. I want to get your takes on this, guys, was this was played online, okay? And if you're just looking at the brackets here and you're seeing teams, you're looking at, okay, Random, they're from China. JiJieHao, they're from the Middle East. Mindfreak, they're from Oceania. Chinggis Warriors, they're from Mongolia. Eruption's in there as well. You know, like India, God's Reign. Like, you have every potential region pretty much in Asia Pacific, and then some, more or less represented in this bracket. And they played it online. Now, I have heard some differing reports, so I'll just get all of that out of the way first. Some players that I spoke to said, it's okay. You know, we played Guam, and Guam is playable. As long as we can play on that server, it's not too bad. Other players said it's fucking horrible. It's pretty much unplayable. I think some teams even pulled out of the qualifier for this stage because they were not able to basically play. Also, the time zone issue for them, like, Oceanic teams having to play at like 10 a.m. in the morning or something like that. These guys have jobs, you know what I mean? So overall, the qualifier, by the end of it, seemed like it ran okay. But at the beginning, there was a lot of like contention around a lot of the decisions that were made. So I don't know that I necessarily want to see this as a precedent set for all of these kinds of qualifiers.
Oh, no, fuck no.
So that's the conversation at the moment, I think. And also the other thing about this was, first of all, it was run by 5e, which is a Chinese company, if you don't know. They basically are the Chinese pug platform similar to Faceit. And they don't have Oceanic servers, which makes sense. But then you see teams like Rooster and Semperfire playing against each other. I believe there was a point where Mindfreak had to play against an Australian team as well. I think Mindfreak and
Housebits. Yeah, I see like at least 3 or 4 games that are 2 Aussie teams playing each other.
And as far as I know, they played either on Singapore or on Guam. And that just seems quite less than ideal, let's just say. So I think this, I don't necessarily hate it as a concept. I don't hate Aussie teams playing Guam servers against Asian teams. You know, JiJieHao coming from MENA playing in I don't know what server. If it works, and again, like I said, I have conflicting reports on that. Some teams think it's okay, some don't. I don't hate it as a concept, but I think there's a lot of things which could have been addressed by 5e or further than that from Blast, to make this a little bit of a smoother operation for everyone, right? There should be no reason for 2 Australian teams to be playing on a non-Australian server in any way, shape, or form. That, I think, is just unacceptable. But to have a world where we're like, okay, we have to run this online because it's just not feasible to bring 16 teams to Asia to play this tournament. At least have the options available for every team to be able to play on a server that works for them. I heard instances as well where there wasn't enough Guam servers. Some of the games got delayed because the Aussie teams were like, well, we can't play on anything but the Guam servers. But there was another game which had an Aussie team playing already on the Guam server. There wasn't another Guam server. So I think as a proof of concept, this seemed to have maybe gotten about 50% of the way there. I think there's still work to be done. I don't want to go too hard on it because I think some people were saying it's okay. So what are your thoughts, guys? Like, am I coping a little bit too hard here, or?
Look, the ideal world is we have like 2 spots.
Yeah, but we're not in the ideal world, bro.
Yeah, we're not in the ideal. So we got 1 spot. That's rough. It sucks. The one reason I also hate about this is the fact that it becomes a little bit of, oh, we got money to fly a team down, JiJieHao. And some of the Middle Eastern teams, they just, you know, maybe there's a team out there. The beauty of these qualifiers, especially for a region like Asia, is that you can have any 5-man team, you know, have a deep run and make it over there. But now you can't if you're unlucky enough to, like you said, you know, you're playing for fucking, I don't know, like from the UAE or something like that, and you have to go up against Semper Fi, for example, right? It's almost impossible for both teams, in fact. So that sucks. For me, and again, I don't think there's any right solution. The Australian thing, I think that's egregious. You have two Aussie teams playing, you better have Australian servers. Like, I think that just goes without saying, right? If you have teams, you need to look at these scenarios. I've worked in a company, who did qualifiers as well for big Asian qualifiers for majors as well, and we made sure we had servers put up at least even for just a weekend if we had to make sure these things went off without a hitch. So the fact that this is happening in 2025 is a bit egregious. For me, the most worrying thing is stuff like the phone numbers issue and the team's not able to sign up and all that stuff. Like, listen, at the end of the day, Blast, it's their event, or it's a qualifier for their event. It's literally called Blast Rising, right? It would be nice if someone from Blast was overseeing this. Because I remember back in the day when, your DreamHacks were still there, and ESL DreamHack were two different entities, PGL and all of that, and everyone's coming back anyway right now. But I remember doing the qualifiers for DreamHack and for, mainly for DreamHack, right? And even ESL, they used to really talk to people and whatnot. And they used to at least try to oversee and talk these things through. They used to at least have a couple of guys say, hey, Bleh, how are you going to, how do you plan to do these qualifiers? And we lay out the plan, we'll talk about things, and they would oversee to make sure that things don't spiral or, mistakes like this aren't made. And I feel like, and this happened in the past as well for Blast. I feel like all these Blast Asian qualifiers have always been plagued by some issue or the other. We saw that for the major, the Paris major as well, the issues there in Mongolia and whatnot. And I feel a little bit of oversight would be ideal, especially because, again, when you deal with a Chinese TO, a 5e player, I'm sure they're very competent, they're very well known in China, but they don't have experience outside of China, right? So, and when you're just trying to learn on the fly, there will be fuck-ups that happen. And who suffers? The players, the teams, without which there would not be any Counter-Strike esports. So I feel like a bit of oversight from Blast and just a little bit more care taken in this would have solved a lot of these issues. But hey, on the bright side, listen, man, I'm in a positive mood today, Jordan. Good, I feel like
that's great.
You're gonna learn. They're gonna learn from this, and the second one, they're gonna be better. All right. At the end of the day, ATOX won, so I feel like they're one of the top three. It would be either Lin, ATOX, or Talon, in my opinion. So end of the day, you learn from mistakes, and hopefully Blast and 5e Play have, and it's going to be fucking fantastic the next time. And if it is not,
hell hath no fury like an Indian man called Bleh.
Yes.
All right. Well, look, what I will say is I'm kind of on the same train of thought as you in the end. Like, when it first came out, I was like, holy fuck, this is going to be a shit show. And it kind of was for like a couple of days. And then it seems like once we got a little bit deeper in, it was not so bad. I think they figured things out. Like you said, the phone...
Are you talking about what's on the screen right now? Like when we stopped having teams from other regions in being represented. Oh, look, guys, we got no ping issues. Everyone's from China and Mongolia.
Even toward like the last day or two of the of those closed quals, it was a little bit better. I think they had enough Guam servers at that point, and like you were talking about with the phone thing, like they had a guy from 5e that was like manually signing teams up. It like took a while to get these processes in place, but like once the processes were in place, it seemed like everything kind of went okay. So yeah, if they do it again, which I'm sure at some point they will, right, for whatever ends up coming later on in the year, I think they probably will be a little bit better equipped for it. But I would say, yeah, I think 5e definitely need to have a little bit of a look at if they're going to run these Asia-wide qualifiers, like they need to be figuring it out a little bit in advance, right? Because it is very obvious that this was like kind of a slap job from them, and need to be done a little bit better.
I think this is just going to be the standard, isn't it? Like,
well,
and this is going to be pretty shit, like long term, no?
So
like we've gone from like having decent like regional online qualifiers and like some lands to like we're playing like 3-digit ping Fiesta to see who wins a qualifier.
Well, you say that, but here's the thing, okay? Now this is where I bring it back over to the MESA Asian Masters, right? The MESA Asian Masters, which is happening right now, by the way, over this week. They are doing more or less the exact same thing the Blast Asia Rising is. It's basically a qualifier for an international event. In this instance, it's for PGL Bucharest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They are running specific sub-region qualifiers. They're running Oceania qualifier, Asia qualifier, China qualifier, MENA qualifier. Those are all happening online. Those are all happening on their respective servers. The OS teams are playing on OS servers. Yes, they are playing at 10 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday, which is not ideal. But they are playing on OS servers, and they are playing to qualify for a LAN in Mongolia that they will qualify for. 3 Oceanic teams go there. I think 1 MENA team and a couple of Chinese teams and a couple of Mongolian teams, whatever. 8-team LAN, that is the qualifier for PGL Bucharest for Asia. So if we're now talking about a comparison between the way that Blast qualifier has run versus the way that PGL qualifier has run, I think we would look at this PGL qualifier and say that is a much better way of doing it. And even in the case of we don't get to have a LAN final at the end of it, if that's not an option and that's too expensive, fine. At least it would be ideal to have the OS qualifier happen, the MENA qualifier happen, the China qualifier happen, the Mongolia qualifier happen. And then when we get to our final 8, as we would see with a bracket like this one, you can mostly play that online without it being much of an issue. Yes, Rooster played with high ping against ATOX, but it was on the Guam server. Both teams were kind of like roughly even. Actually, no, sorry, they played on Singapore. ASAP was kind of farming because it was the first time he had less ping than everybody else.
He's from Perth, so he was like, finally, my fucking location is coming to play. Let's fucking go.
You know, like, I think the thing is, like, I kind of agree with you, Pilski, that it's like, it's not ideal. Definitely, it's not ideal. There's nothing we can do about that, though. Like, there's no way a TO is going to be flying all these teams to play on a LAN qualifier. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, at the very least, let's try to mitigate the potential problems, right? And have as few potential issues as possible with a little bit of planning. That's all I'm going to say. But I think if we look at the way that the MESA Asia Masters is running, I haven't heard a single complaint from any of the players so far. So credit to MESA, credit to PGL. Hopefully that is on the money. I don't know. I haven't really spoken to anyone about it, but I haven't heard anyone complaining about it. So seems good.
Just like in the Counter-Strike teams, Mongolz coming out on top of the Chinese.
Yep.
Just better. It's just better. Yeah, and I'm very glad you brought this example because, like you said, same scenario, different TO, right? Same teams, and the Mongolians found a better way of approaching this. And like you said, we just got to mitigate the issues which can't be mitigated, or like, which can't be really changed. The fact that Asia is fucking massive, and I think the Mongols are doing the best job, and 5v play just learn from them.
Yeah,
boom, done.
That's all it needs to be, really.
Look,
I think there's definitely a world where everything can kind of coexist, and I think there's still definitely a really good year ahead for Asia when we look at a lot of the tournaments that are coming up, which we can talk about actually in a second. I want to touch on some of the team changes that have been happening first, and then we'll go back to like some of the tournaments that are coming up just to kind of break it up a little bit. Quickly, Rooster have made a change. You would have seen this, maybe Bleh. I know Pilski's across it because we've been casting some of their games. DPR out and dannyg in. We had a bit of a chat about this one, I think. Did we, Pilly? Where it sort of seems like a bit of an interesting move in a sense because, like, obviously DPR was someone that we were somewhat high on coming into this Rooster roster. We thought that seemed like a decent change, but I don't necessarily hate seeing dannyg coming back. I think he was always a pretty serviceable player. My only question, obviously, is going to be how has he fared in, like, he probably hasn't played in like 2-3 years in a competitive environment. So how is that going to be, slotting back into this Rooster team? But on the surface of it, it seems like same old Rooster, just really struggling to find that fifth player to really complete the team, right? It seems like maybe Slimy has slotted in nicely as a fourth, but unfortunately they need to now find a fifth. So the fact that they obviously lost dannyg, if it was dannyg now in this roster plus Slimy, it would be like, oh, okay, this looks sick. But the fact that it's now like Slimy plus now dannyg, it's like, okay, well, I think they're still kind of like tossing around looking for that proper fifth, which they haven't really been able to find for like 2 years. So what's your take?
Well, they lost to Vantage 02, which is not a good sign. That's their first official with dannyg, but he actually was the best player, although they're all like pretty much on the same level. So hopefully that means that he's at least got a decent level of fragging because he's been inactive for literally like 3 years. But I don't know. It's not a super exciting change for me. I think Rooster is just kind of that same team. They're like at a weird position where like, who can say who's actually the best? Like, who's actually better? Is it Rooster, Talon, Semperfi, or Mindfreak? I don't fucking know.
Which one of these teams even
exists? I actually couldn't fucking tell you, dude. Yep. Like, literally depends on the day, honestly. Like, all of these teams are super inconsistent, and have some good players, have some good qualities, but none of them are like really kind of wowing me at the moment, you know?
Yeah. All right, well, then maybe we can move on to the next change, which is going to be an interesting one. This one actually dropped this morning. Talon have confirmed benched MHL, which I think we had our suspicions was going to be the case. I don't know when the last time we actually spoke about this was, but I've had a bit of a feeling that something's going on in Talon for probably 3-4 weeks now. Obviously, the fact that they haven't been playing a lot of officials is one thing. They did play a boot camp at one point, and then they lost one of the qualifiers. I think it was in the Lisbon qualifier, the Blast qualifier. It might have been. They lost like one of the open qualifiers to IHC, like 13-2. They just got donged out in a BO1, and then that was it. And then ever since then, the team's just like disappeared. Obviously, we know that they're playing ESL Challenger League at the moment with Malta and Sterling. So that's not a great look. I've heard as well that that's going to be the team that plays at DFrag Invitational as well, which is in a month or so. And I believe they were also playing, I'm pretty sure they were also playing this MESA Asian Masters with Malta and Sterling. So you look at that on the surface and go, okay, well, is Talon still Talon? Are they now a full Australian team? They qualified for the MESA Asian Masters, yes. But you know, obviously MHL's out now. What does this mean for Azza? Because he lives over in Europe as well. They're playing with this Australian team or ANZ team at the moment. MHL now being confirmed out of the roster. There's just a lot of questions around this Talon team at the moment. The thing is, like, I don't really want to see this team break up. I think there's still a bit of legs actually in this roster, even if it is with Malta and Sterling or, you know, whoever they end up with. Like, could it be Alistair? I've heard conversations around potentially Alistair into this roster as well. There's a lot of rumors going around. But I think there's still a good team that you can salvage out of this core, at least domestically speaking. But I just wonder where they're going to be left if, you know, is Talon still invested in this project potentially if now they're not going to be this international team? Because even as I heard, they had issues with, like, when they were all in Europe, in Malta, like, they couldn't even play in anything because they weren't getting invites to the European tournaments because they're not a quote-unquote European team. So what was the point of them being in Malta? That's the VRS issue, right? And this is the same issue for like that Mongolian Akimbo team that plays in North America. They can't play in shit because they're a Asia team, but they're residing in a country where they're not an Asian team. So I think that was one of the roadblocks potentially as well there for Talon. So I don't know if maybe there's a world where they just go back to, okay, we're going to be an AU-based team and we're going to compete in all these Asia tournaments. That may be the way forward, in which case, obviously, MHL's now out. What does that mean for Azza? I don't know. But at least as far as I know now, currently in this moment, at least for the next month or so, they're playing with Malta and Sterling for all the tournaments.
Hear me out, all right? And I don't think that this is wild to say, all right? Nedic, Addict, Hazza, Alistair, and just fucking chop ASAP in there, and actually could be better than ATOX.
And who's IGLing?
I don't fucking care. Like, I actually don't care. Anyone.
Advent.
Anyone.
Let's get Advent.
Advent, yeah. Fuck it. I mean, what do you want? You want to keep Malta? Keep
Malta? I don't mind keeping Malta, but I actually don't think he necessarily wants
I didn't even know
play.
Malta was active, dude. I won't lie.
He's not. He just fucking rolled up and he's just...
Well, there he goes. It's crazy.
He hasn't played for years and he's just fucking rolled up.
It's been years, dude.
Look, all I'm going to say is me and Malta went to the same primary school. Never talked to him once in school. And, you know, I guess everyone that went to that school just cracked at esports.
Yeah, I guess so.
The best.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, like, I just don't see, obviously, if they're going to compete in ANZ, I don't think it works out with Azza. So that is the big sort of block here. You know, I think you could put Ali and you could put Sterling in. You'd still say it's okay. It's a decent team with the AWPing presence there. But just how does it work from the in-game leadership perspective? I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see how that all pans out. But at least as far as they're going right now with this team, like, they're actually kind of looking okay. Like, they're kind of farming ECL. They farmed the defrag, not the defrag, the MESA qual. I think they'll actually do quite well at defrag too.
Legit, like Nedic and Addict are fucking cracked, and Alistair is going to be really good at this level.
Dude, he was farming,
he's going to be fucking destroying people at this level.
Did you see him play in ECL?
Hold him up against like the top, 10, 20 teams in the world. They're like, oh, this guy is not very good. But like, if he fucking plays in Asia, he's going to fucking farm.
Because no one's flashing him. No one's fucking, using util against him.
He's
just going to be getting aces every round, and we're going to go back to be like, holy fuck, this guy's the best player in the world.
He played one game of ESL Challenger League for Art of War.
Yeah,
and he dropped 60 over 2 maps. It's like, oh yeah, he's literally been getting shit on by like tier 1 AWPers for like 3 years or whatever, and then he comes back to Oceania and he's like, I am the best, by the way. Don't forget that. Like, and it's so obvious that that's the case too. So,
dude, it's so clear that like he is the best, and it's all Dexter's fault. Like Dexter
just can't handle Orcas, right?
Like,
yeah, man. If only Dexter just kept slapping him every time he missed a fucking shot, like a fucking sitter. Yeah,
Alistair is the greatest, and look. That I will stand on that. Put him in Talon. Let's go.
Yeah, I reckon put him in Talon. Fucking oath.
The vibes will be great though. That I can't deny. Yeah.
That would be a cool team.
Maybe keep Malta at that point if he even wants to play.
I don't think he does.
Idea. I don't think he even wants to play.
Think he does. No.
I think he's being forced to qualify for international tournaments against his will. Why does he have to suffer, guys?
Wait, let me see if I can leak something right now. I'm just gonna check if I can read what I was talking to Malta on Steam the other day. I have Malta on Steam, by the way. It's not a big deal to me.
You guys are Steam friends.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Wait, you didn't say Liam though, so you can't be
Liam Malta, my friend Liam. I'm trying to find what he said. Oh, I said I think low-key I don't hate this team. And he says, ha ha ha, I hate it because it would be a team competing in CS2. So I think that just goes to show his proclivity towards the game at the moment. So like I said, I don't know that he necessarily wants to be competing, but he's just in for now. But yeah, look, it's interesting. I think how this is all playing out. But what I would love to see, by the way, is some kind of announcement from Talon. Like, have they not made any announcement about this? I mean, MHL made his tweet, but like, does anyone know what's going on with his team? Everyone keeps asking, like, oh, what's Talon playing in? Are they even playing? Are they even a team? I don't fucking know.
I don't think the players know as well right now, honestly.
Yeah, I don't care anymore. Just fucking slap. Let's make some kind of fucking weird Frankenstein monster of like Rooster, Vertex, and fucking slap Alistair in there. I don't even fucking care who's yelling, and just send it. Like I don't give a fuck.
Yep, I agree. I'm for that. Anyway, speaking of wild changes, we've actually got 2 more kind of crazy changes coming through here. Frankenstein's Monster. We're talking about Frankenstein's Monster from Hong Kong now. Freeman has joined Art of War, and they're playing from Australia. By the way, they're not called Art of War anymore. They're called only one word. So that's new.
Art of War's a great fucking name. Why did you change that?
It is. Apparently, I don't know. Viridian was saying on his stream something to do with an agent. I don't know if they're trying to get like an org or something like that, and they've changed it because of that. But anyway, the team now is Viridian, Terry, Banana, Sunshines, and Freeman. And Blair keeps saying every time we talk about these guys, he's like, I don't know who any of these guys are. I'm like, well, mate, you're gonna know. This is the best Hong Kong team you've ever seen.
He hasn't heard the tale of Turn It On Terry.
Turn It On Terry.
That's what we call it. Turn It On Terry.
I literally have no idea who Terry is.
Terry is one of the
Terry.
great.
Terry.
It's great to see, young Chinese prospects like Freeman coming to a better region to play Counter-Strike and learn.
Young Chinese prospects.
You know what? He's only 25. I looked it up. He's only 25.
Really?
What the fuck?
Everyone's like, why is he in Australia?
I thought he was 35 or some shit.
Exactly. Everyone's like, why is he in Australia? I'm like, I don't fucking know. He can't surely be going to uni, right? Because that's where most of our international players come from. But maybe he is. If he's 25, he might be going to some uni. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't know that there's really much to say on this. They've had like only a few games so far, but Freeman seems to be kind of farming in Oz. Like he actually, most of the games he's played has looked pretty good.
We were actually saying, like, I don't know a lot of OS enjoyers that don't pay as much attention will know, but Art of War was very close to qualifying for some international events at certain points with the parity in the scene. Yep. The scene is still absolutely a clusterfuck right now. So, unironically, like Freeman in this Art of War team, if Sunshines and Terry play well and Viridian just calls some strats at all, like legitimately could qualify for an international event. Why are these Hong Kong players taking our spots, guys? Come on.
I don't know. I mean, all I'm going to say is, though, it's great to see the #1 Hong Kong player playing with the #2 Hong Kong player. I'm really glad to see Terry.
Terry is so nice to play with.
Mentoring Freeman,
yeah, that's really nice.
I mean, the fact that, dude, I think the last time I remember an all Hong Kong team was in 2015 or something. So
no, I think they had some in like 2017, 2018 playing for like Extremesland. I think there was an Extremesland Hong Kong team in 1 year.
Didn't they get 1v5'd by Noobster?
Yes, I think that might be the team. Or it was either them or the Vietnamese team.
I think that automatically disqualifies them from being discussed.
Anyway,
this point.
it's an interesting point that you bring up, by the way, about them almost qualifying for an international tournament, because they've also almost qualified for an international tournament.
That's true, actually. They're
right
playing
now.
right now, aren't they?
They are playing right now. By the time this episode airs, you will know whether or not it's going to be one.
They should win that.
Only
They
one
should
word,
100%
or KZG.
qualify, actually, for MESA Asia Masters.
They
Like,
may.
legitimately, they should
We
win
might
that game.
see Freeman playing with Terry in an Australian team in Mongolia.
Blair, I know you think we're memeing, but I'm just gonna read the rating: 1.17 for Terry, 1.13 for Freeman. So
That's facts. You can't
Terry's
argue with
better.
numbers, bro.
That's
I mean,
a
Freeman's been
0.04.
walked for a while, so you know.
Yeah, best years. Ty Lue takes it out of all of us. You just
Yep,
rot
Tyler
it
took it
away
out
on
of
the
me.
bench. He's
Yeah.
just washed now.
Here's another wild change for you guys. Have you ever heard of this guy called BOROS, however you want to pronounce it? He's
Oh, yeah.
now playing in JiJieHao.
Which mouse is he using?
I don't know.
Okay,
idea.
we got to check that.
No idea. But
All right, so
They benched
here's my piece on that. All right. Like,
All right,
I mean, I haven't been
right.
talking much about the roster changes because I won't lie, I don't know much about about fucking Terry and everyone else.
Fuck,
But I'll tell you what,
you're gonna
I don't
know.
want fucking BOROS. I don't want BOROS, and I'll just say this right without going to. I think it's been everyone's spoken about it, about him as a player. This is it for JiJieHao. They're gonna internally combust, and they're not gonna really get anything done unless they eventually kick him in 3 months. Remember, guys, he got benched by what's the endpoint?
That's a good question.
In like a month or something. Just
yeah,
crazy.
wasn't it? It was they reported it as like a historic, like the lowest amount of time someone's played to get themselves benched.
Was it ITB?
No, Into the Breach. Sorry, yeah, it was ITB. But yeah, listen, man, like if ITB benched you, if the org owned by a fucking scamming scumbag benched you,
It's a blessing in disguise, maybe. Actually, now he's gone on JiJieHao, and
Pilski has some words about that org.
Oh, I love that org. They're my favorite org. I absolutely love those guys. I hope that he does so well and that they succeed. I wish them nothing but the best.
Am I missing something? Yeah.
Pilski he was competing in a Valorant team as a coach that was known as Bonkers, but they may have.
We were
played as
JiJieHao for like
JiJieHao.
quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still JiJieHao. And they
Are they paid?
It basically what it stands for is GG. How do I get my money out of China?
I did get paid very well until we lost.
Well, I mean, fucking don't lose then, right?
Yeah, don't lose. Like legit, BOROS, bro.
Do I get paid?
You keep winning games. You win a lot of games, and you will get
God.
paid. Just keep winning, bro, and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Easy.
Anyway,
Just don't lose.
interesting team. I think JiJieHao, like, these are the first two Middle Eastern teams that I'm actually kind of interested in the last while.
I give this lineup 2 months.
2 months. All right. Well, what I want to say is that that Al Ittihad team, which is the former EXO esports roster, which won Extreme Land, they're actually an interesting team as well. So there's actually two Middle Eastern teams that I'm actually kind of interested in, like actually seeing how they go over the next little while. Whereas previously it was literally just teams that were like, we're just going to put a team together for the RMR. It's like, I don't give a fuck. But these teams are actually playing and stuff. They're actually competing. They're actually sticking together for the most part. So I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, let's see what happens with BOROS into JiJieHao. Hopefully it doesn't kill a team. And what is interesting about that, though, is that that JiJieHao core was always like Mini and ESA for a long time. And it seems like now that's kind of broken up and now it's going in a different direction. So we'll see how it goes. But we've got more stuff to talk about. So let's move on. We've got MESA Nomadic Masters. I haven't talked about this yet because we haven't had an episode in a while. But they've announced 2 Nomadic Masters, a spring, and I assume it will probably be like an autumn or something for them over in the end of the year. But basically 2 events, $250,000 prize pool. The first one's April 30 to May 4. The second one's October 15 to 19. Yeah, 250K per event, so 500K. And one thing that I really appreciated about this was the quote, or I guess the reason that they're doing these. They've said, this is from the managing director of MESA. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. We've noticed gaps in events below tier 1 as most top tier organizations. Gunbata Erdene, I think it is. Which I think is actually
that's not
close.
bad, see?
But I haven't said it right, but like I think that's how it sounds, but like you need to say it like a Mongolian, and I'm obviously not a Mongolian. It's probably like
The mother Erdene.
yeah, like Gunbata Gunbutter
Okay,
Erdene or something.
that sounds very wrong, Jordan. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't,
So I'm just going to call him
No.
Gunbutter Erdene. Anyway, he says, we've noticed gaps in events below tier 1 as most top tier organizers focus on tier 1 events. However, there are no tier 2 events offering high prize pool and arena experience. Currently, there are only super elite events or low prize pool online events. So they're trying to hit that middle ground. And this is, again, something that we talked about in previous episodes when we're like, hey, man, this would be a great thing for Sky Esports to do with all the money that they're pumping in. This is exactly what we've been asking for from the Asia region.
Yep.
So shout out to MESA. It looks great. Obviously, I was at the last one. It was pretty good. There was some teething concerns in some worlds, like the hotel wasn't great and the prac setups just basically didn't work. But by and large, the event itself actually ran quite well. So I have high hopes for this year from MESA. The TLDR is 2 EU invites, 2 EU quals, 2 Asia invites, 1 Asia qual, and 1 MESA qual. So basically, you're going to have 4 EU teams, 4 Asia teams playing against each other. It is going to be like a tier 2-esque event, but you'd hope to see a team like maybe a Mongolz, maybe a FlyQuest attending something like this. Mongolz, obviously, because it's in Mongolia, they'd probably want to support their region potentially. FlyQuest, because I think it would be a good opportunity for them to get some VRS points. And I imagine that you're probably going to get a lot of like the tier 2 kind of EU teams, which is sort of what was there last year. So I think it's going to be awesome. I actually think it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it works out well. And we'll see how this one goes. This first one in about a month or so. It's just after IEM Melbourne, like literally the weekend after IEM Melbourne.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's great. We've been asking for shit like this for ages, so I just don't have anything bad to say about it unless something majorly fucks up.
Yep.
And I just want to add to what Jordan said as well, like just the tragedy of what Sky Esports could have done. It could have been both Sky Esports and MESA
And ACL. We literally could have had an Asia circuit,
and ACL.
bro.
Yeah, I know. And just watching how Sky Esports just flushed all the goodwill and all the money down the toilet just makes me
It's not too late.
Particularly sad. I think it's too late. And I reckon.
Bro, people were pretty down on MESA after that blast Paris RMR.
Yeah, but that was the one time, right? And they have improved every single time. Sky Esports is just like the last event got cancelled again.
Yeah, okay.
Right, and sure, it's for the BRS thing, but I'm still gonna. I agree with Chad. I think they just didn't follow the rules properly. It just, again, heart in the right place, incompetent people at the wrong place. That's how I describe it as. And unfortunately, Jordan, sometimes in Asia, incompetent people remain in power for a very long time. So that's how it is.
Anyway, on a more positive note, obviously looking forward to seeing what MESA's going to be able to do here. And the thing is, like, what I appreciate about it as well is that this is. Like, it's not just the Nomadic Masters that MESA's doing this year. They've obviously we've talked about the what is it, the Asia series? What's it called again? That's running right now. The Asian Masters, MESA Asian Masters. So you've basically got 4 Asia events from MESA, 2 of which are, I believe, qualifiers for PGL, and 2 of which are their own products. So the Asian Masters, I think, is just the qualifier system, which is what's happening now. And then the Nomadic Masters is actually their own tournament that they're running basically for the Asia region. And then they even run a few like Mongolia-based tournaments for the Asia teams that was towards the back end of 2024. So they're actually doing quite a lot for the Asia region at the moment. If you look at the VRS points, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, a lot of those VRS points for the Mongolian teams in particular are coming from the MESA tournaments. So they're kind of like hard carrying Mongolians, yes, definitely, but they're also doing a lot for Asia in general. Even it helps out Oceania. 3 Oceania slots, like that's fucking awesome. So
yeah,
big thumbs up to MESA.
The one thing I want to focus on as well is like the fact that they seem to like take pride in actually branding and like putting forward some of these events that are qualifiers into some of the bigger events as like an actual product and as its own thing. I'm so sick of TOs. They just call something a qualifier and then the level of care is like kind of dog shit,
Yes.
Whereas like I feel like all of the events that I love the most down under when we used to have ESL Australia and for some of the other Asia TOs is like they actually turn the fucking qualifier into a product and it's like something that they care about and they try to make it a good fucking tournament. And then that tournament leads into like a better tournament and all of a sudden we've got a fucking circuit instead of just like, that's why I really like, I know that it's a side effect of the times and the circumstances that we ended up in with VRS and how big Asia is and all that stuff. But it's why I just really can't fuck with all of these online like Guam server qualifiers because like I look at the events like this and the events that I used to enjoy back in the day compared with like these really low budget, like run by TOs that are not even like really in the space that much. They just kind of pop in. They're like, yep, qualifier, fucking send that out. Oh, we fucked up four, 6 things for like whatever. Let's just keep sending it, you know? Like that's the difference right now for me.
Bro, remember we had like people trying to like fight for broadcast rights for the qualifiers in Austin, fucking Asian stuff, and just a little bit of care being put in. At least I tried when I was like working in So Strong and everything, and even ESL used to do it. Just a little bit of care. When you do it, it trickles down. Other people start giving a shit as well, you know. And you don't really have to stretch your resources as well, because we have a lot of talented people who would happily cover regional qualifiers for you. They, you know, will help you out. They'll talk to you. They'll be like, hey, oh, I can set the server up for you, right? There are people who exist in the grassroots area, and you just need to put a little bit of care, and people will come. I've seen this personally. I've seen this happen so many times. So, yeah, try harder, I guess.
Yeah, man. I think these Aussie teams are fucking stoked that, like, not only can they now potentially play in the Nomadic Masters and the Asia Masters as well, but I guess we can transition this into now the ACL discussion as well. The ACL invites have now gone out too. So you're looking at teams like for example, the KZGs, the House Bets, the Roosters, the Only One Word / Art of War. Even Mantra's in here as a team that's been able to qualify or be invited to ACL. And to my understanding, these teams are going to go. This is the list, more or less, because I think there was other teams that were invited. Some of them turned it down. Like, for example, one of the notable omissions here is a Mind Freak, for example, would expect maybe them to have made it. I'm pretty sure they should have got an invite, so I imagine that they've turned it down. But these are going to be the teams that are going to go to ACL. We're looking at KZG or Only One Word, one of which will go to the MESA Asian Masters as well, based on the game that is literally being played right now as we're recording this. So there's a lot of actual stuff now that these teams kind of have the opportunity to play in. Yes, it's going to require travel to Asia, but it's like, okay, well, at least we have something to play towards, you know what I mean? And I think that's great. So let's touch on this ACL thing quickly. I just want to quickly say, in addition to these teams that you see on your screen right here, FlyQuest, ATOX, LinVision, and Huns are the 4 teams that are going to be already pre-invited into the playoffs. So the teams here are playing for 4 slots into those playoffs against those teams. And there's going to be another 4 Chinese teams based on the Chinese qualifier in this stage that we're looking at right here, which I think is a really good spread, right? We've got teams from China, we've got teams from Mongolia, we've got JiJieHao in there from the Middle East. Again, like, they're a pretty interesting team. God's Reign's there again from India. You know, they're popping up a bit, right? They went to Extremes Land. They're playing in these
the bet higher than NIP in the VRS, baby. Let's go. Woo!
India's back, baby.
What's up, Swedes? Woo! Okay, there are no Swedes in the team, so I kind of
so it's time for Nip India. Is that what you're saying, Bleh?
What's up?
Nip India? Nip India branch?
Nah, man, we got enough problems already. We don't need Nip here.
Fucking hell. Anyway, I don't know that there's really much to say, but obviously these are some pretty cool teams. I think if it were me, I'd be looking at maybe Tyloo, Rare Atom.
Tyloo, what's happening with Tyloo? What's our monthly update?
No,
Attacker.
We don't
Attacker.
talk about that.
Attacker's still playing.
Attacker's here.
They're going to play in
They're all right.
ESL Pro League, aren't they?
I hope not, but
No,
pretty
Pretty
maybe.
sure they are.
It's not. Is it Tyloo? I don't think it's Tyloo.
It might be.
Am I tripping?
Yeah, it is. It's House Bets, Mind Freak, Tyloo, LinVision, FlyQuest.
That's in Mind Freak. Dude, how long ago was this fucking qualifier, bro? What is
last year, bro? Don't you remember the last year's season?
For fuck's sake.
I am excited about LinVision, though. I think LinVision is something I get behind.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
But also, we saw a tweet from Rare Adam saying somebody has said, I stay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's sticking around. So, hey, we still get to see more of somebody, right? And that's always a great thing for everyone out there.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the main thing that I want to say, and it goes back to that Talon point just on this like closed qualifier, is like, come on, OS teams. Like, we have some good fucking players. Let's put together like 2 good teams and actually have a crack at this tournament. Because the way I see this tournament panning out right now is like, we're all getting fisted by fucking Chinggis Warriors and Rare Atom and Tyloo. Like, we are not gonna do shit, guys. Can we please get a team through the fucking closed qualifier? There's a China league, there's a Mongolian league. Like, let's put together a good team and actually do Oz proud, because right now this is a clusterfuck, guys.
What do you mean, man?
Smoked.
FlyQuest is in the playoffs, bro.
Yeah, I know they're in the playoffs, but I want to see the closed qual be more like competitive. Like, I don't have.
What do you mean? Number 1 Hong Kong team. Man. We have the number 1 Hong Kong team playing from Oceania. They're going to.
So you're claiming Freeman is Australian.
Freeman is an Australian. That cunt. Okay. He's a good fucking bloke.
That is the most.
all right there.
We gotta get an Aussie copy pasta going if that fucking happens. If we gotta give Freeman an Aussie as fuck name.
His name is Freeman because
Freeman.
No, he was a convict. He came as a convict and he became a free man after working for the English overlords. Some shit. I don't know. Anyway,
all right.
I think it's a good point though about look, if you go back and look at Semperfi at Extremes Land and you think, okay, well, if we can like correlate their performance to what might happen here in ACL, you know, they lost to JiJieHao 2-0, they lost to Tai Lu. I mean, I think there's definitely a world where probably all the Oceanic teams do not make it through this, but we'll wait and see. I'll hold my thoughts until we get to actually watch them play. The only one thing I'll say is maybe Rooster, if they get to play on LAN, I think that's going to be quite a significant buff for them, considering they always have ping issues with AZAP in WA and Chell in NZ and this and that. So that might help a little bit.
How many spots is there? There's like
four from here.
4. Okay. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. Like they could take a top 4 spot, I think. You know, like Ty Lu, Rare Adam, JiJieHao, and Rooster would be like.
But I want them to make me feel good about it, Jordan. I don't want them to like barely scrape a win over the line against God's Reign or NIP India. You know, like I just don't want to see that.
NIP India.
Don't you dare.
All right, let's move this on before we start getting into a fist fight over Indian Counter-Strike.
Blair does not care enough to even fucking throw hands at all.
No, I do. They're higher than NIP right now. I'll take it.
I don't know if you guys saw this tweet from M&M's. It's actually about North American Counter-Strike and the most recent VRS update. Speaking of which, there's been like multiple VRS updates since the last episode. We were going to talk about the last one, but now it's kind of a moot point. We'll talk about this one instead. But basically, there's a lot going on, and he has some issues with it, and I think we should have some issues with it as well, because I think the thing is right now, the way that things affect North America, generally speaking, is very significantly correlated with how things will affect Asia as well. It's like we're kind of like together in this, in a sense. So basically, the biggest problem with the most recent change, and that's what's highlighted in this tweet here. This tweet is longer, by the way. I just couldn't fit it all on the screen. He did go on to like give some the implications, but the TLDR basically is that the change that they've made to the VRS is basically the points will now not be applied to VRS until the end of the tournament. Which it fixes one issue in that like a team that played, you know, an opening game gets their points and then significantly improves their position on the VRS versus teams that haven't played their games yet. That is definitely an issue, sure. But what it does do in turn also is it means things like ESL Challenger League, which again, for North America and for Asia are pretty much the two most prevalent ways of achieving VRS points, now will not be giving VRS points, first of all, until after the major qualifier has gone out, which is a big problem. Second of all, it's now like 4 months since you've played those games, potentially, at which point they're probably not that relevant anyway. So it's all around just not good for Asia and for North America. It may be a good change for Tier 1 Counter-Strike, which has more or less always been the case with VRS, but VRS is definitely hurting Asia and North America as a byproduct.
Yeah, but it's also like, what's the solution, right? And I get why the changes happen is because of the events where... the Legion thing, right? So the other option is maybe make these leagues or these online things a little shorter, I guess.
Well, that is an option. The option is make it shorter or have an exception for certain tournaments like ESL Challenger League. Look, the thing is, like, I don't know if you guys watched the most recent episode of Talking Counter. I listened to it this morning. I think it came out last night. And they had a conversation about this. Basically, the TLDR on their side was kind of like, well, the tournament's too long anyway. It probably shouldn't be that long. And okay, that's fair enough. I kind of agree. But also what you have to understand, and for the viewers that are maybe not, you know, endemic to Asia and endemic to North America, are only focused on Tier 1, is that there is not enough to play right now in a lot of these regions, right? So actually, I think teams, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I actually think teams and players would prefer to have a long season of ESL Challenger League where they do get to play lots of games. Otherwise, there isn't anything to play. The alternative, of course, would be we're going to split up this season of ESL Challenger League into like micro tournaments, let's say, and make them like a weekend cup. Like let's have an ODC or a two-day competition or something like that. once every 2 weeks for 4 months. That's an option, but that also does kind of hurt the players who have jobs and they may not be able to take that specific day off. Whereas for something like an ESL Challenger League, you can bounce your days around a little bit based on your availability because it's 4 months long. For example, we've seen with Talon, they've basically not played any games until last week. Even though we're now like 2 months into ESL Challenge League. So it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. Like I can see the arguments on both sides. What I would say is I think, at least for our region, at least domestically speaking, and I'd say probably the same as for North America, I would prefer if they would make an exception for something like an ESL Challenger League and say, for this tournament only, the results are going to go based on when you play your game. That would be my preferred take. The alternatives are shorter season, yes, but that may mean less games, less opportunity for teams to play. Not good, in my opinion. Or these ODC type situations, which again could be good, could be bad. I think we'd have to wait and see how that sort of plays out.
I think you could almost have like a different like category for like how you define different tournaments, honestly, and it would solve this issue, right?
That would be
like you could have a league, like this is a leagues, and it's like calculated based on a certain period of time or straight after the game, and then you have a tournament that's like, you know, calculated in a different way, like a bracket play or whatever. Yeah, I just wanted to say as well, right before we finish up, guys, cast your eyes over to the MESA Asian Masters China closed qualifier right now.
Okay,
and click on Shika and tell me. What fucking year is it right now?
Okay. I'm getting some Splashky vibes.
Tell me what fucking year is it? It's going on right now. MESA Asia Masters 2025 China closed qualifier. Tell me who's in the upper bracket against Rare Atom and what fucking year is it right now?
Wait, dude, I'm scrolling through. I can't find it. Where the fuck? Asian Masters, right?
Yeah. Asian
Masters. China closed qualifier. Yeah.
And look at the bracket. Click on like Shika versus Just Swing, and Shika versus change the game. What is fucking happening here?
What the fuck?
What on earth is that? And now we're gonna go play Rare Atom. Let's go, Splashky. Okay, buddy.
Who the fuck are everyone else?
I mean, the Just Swing guys is kind of Marek, Gas, like QQ got. We're kind of destroying some people. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at Bukemut, GG, Zai88, and C. I have no idea what the fuck is that.
Oh, Zai88 was on that fucking Bromo team. You know,
it's Bromo. This is Bromo.
Yeah,
basically, it's Bromo plus Splashky.
Let's go Bromo without any of the same players. But yeah.
Anyway,
good to see Splashky back.
It's kind of cool. He did tell me when we were at Extreme Slam that he's going to be playing in a Chinese team. He just wouldn't tell me which one. I was like, oh, is it Rare Atom? Are you taking Kaze's job? Or maybe he can take Kaze's job tonight. We'll find out.
If he pops off, man, people are gonna start. He's still very young. He's still so young. I think.
Splashky? I think he's not that old. Yeah.
Is it Freeman?
He's 25, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Freeman and Splashky on the same team. Freeman into Ardabor. Okay, I'm sold. Thanks, guys.
Splashky into Ardabor, you mean?
Splashky into Australia.
Hell yeah.
Stop smoking that pipe, bro.
All right. Well, one more thing that we have, or a couple more things actually, I guess here, that we should probably quickly touch on when it comes to the VRS situation is there's this race, obviously, between FlyQuest and ATOX at the moment. If you remember when we talked about the MRQ and that second qualifier slot going to the Oceania region at the moment, that is still the case, obviously, with FlyQuest being the quote-unquote second team. Obviously, Liquid's there, but FlyQuest is the second Asia team. ATOX, I think, at one point were within like 4 points of FlyQuest. But then they lost in the upper bracket game of a MESA qualifier to like just some random team. And so they dropped a bunch of points. So at the moment, it's kind of looking like FlyQuest is still safe, or not necessarily FlyQuest. They probably don't give a fuck, really. But the second Oceania team who would take that slot to the MRQ would be feeling pretty good about that. So that's been an interesting little race. We're keeping an eye on that one as well. And then the other thing is... This is from Thursday. You know, fan question, viewer question. He was in my Twitch chat. He said, "Talk about Sk0r, please. Sk0r 2.01 series." He's playing in Eruption, if you guys didn't know. And if you can see here on the VRS rankings on this screen, they literally went from unranked to 6th in like one change. I'm pretty sure it was this month. They've gone from not there to 6th.
End of last year, they beat Rare Item and ATOX. Then they beat Chinggis Warriors, and that's it. But then they're also losing to Huns and ATOX. Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, cool. do it on land.
I don't know most of the players on his team, like Side Effect, Zenization,
Magnums and
Magnums.
Fury and Sk0r are the ones that I know. Magnums and Fury have been playing in like the fourth, fifth, sixth best Mongolian teams this whole time. Like they've been kind of kicking around for a while. And then Sk0r's clearly the star player on this team. The other two guys, I have no idea. But based on what I've seen from some of the cunts that I've never heard of lately in Mongolia, they might be the best fucking players on the team. Like this Vessel guy on the Huns has been fucking farming lately, and I'd not really seen him do anything until he joined this team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So lots of cool stuff happening in Mongolia. A few good teams. ATOX in that second position are, I would say, or a second in Mongolia position, definitely under threat from the likes of Eruption and the Huns, who have both kind of been on the warpath, so to speak. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode. So anything else you guys want to say?
Yeah, go on.
Let's go. Got some fucking sick tournaments coming up. I'm looking forward to them. I wish the Oceanic teams would be a little bit better. Maybe one of them will surprise me. But I'm hoping for a great Oath shuffle. That now that these teams are actually saying like, oh shit, we actually get to play in Asia internationally. These teams are pretty good. Should we stop fucking around and actually try to win some fucking games, guys? Like, please. That's my biggest hope right now.
That'd be good. For me, man, it's been a while since I did a like in-person podcast.
We should do one.
We should do one.
We should do.
Have you been to Melbourne, Bleh? That would be great.
We should do one.
We should do one.
We should do one.
We'll try.
Maybe without me.
Without
try and do one.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? My mixer that I have, that little thing, you remember? It actually has a function that I've never used where you can like call someone or get audio from a phone into the mixer. So theoretically, we could. I've never tried it, and it could fucking blow up. But there is a world potentially where we could get you in on a
I think you should just call me without telling me what's going on. Like,
hey bro, you're live on Geographically Challenged right now. It'll be like a radio show.
I hope you're not busy.
Do you know this person? And then you're like, yeah, I know her. I dated her back in. Well, she told us about this, and this. And it'll be like you ever seen those like radio pranks? Anyway, yeah. Let's wrap it up there. Look, at this stage, don't know necessarily when we'll be able to do another episode. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, EPL's pretty short, right? It's like 2 weeks. So by the end of EPL, we'll have a few results, at least with Lynn and Mongolz and all these
house bets and
things from Tyloo. Freeman's going to drop bombs.
I think 2 weeks would be a good
2 weeks is good
time to do it.
Let's do it. All right, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Shoutouts to SkinClub. Check out that link in the description if you're interested. Or check out the buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy link if you're also interested in that one. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Hey guys, just at the end of that video and heading into 2025, I want to give a massive shout out to Jean, who has been a big supporter of mine on buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy. She's been a member for over 12 months. And if you'd be interested in supporting my content and getting this content grind going, then head over there as well and check it out. Thank you very much.